Hey there, dirt bike people. I'm Chuck from TrueTech, and continuing on from last week, I'm going to be tearing down this 300RR engine. In case you missed it, this is a 2020. The idle was a bit erratic. I suspect that it was running a little bit lean. I checked out the engine and found a little bit of play in that left side crank bearing. I'm not sure what to expect. The play is alarming, but it's not crazy. The engine hasn't failed. It was running well enough to ride. Customer just wants to get ahead of the problem. Let's get right into it. The piston on this bike was replaced relatively recently. So I don't suspect any problems in the top end, but you never know. Nothing crazy in there. Typical, a little bit goopy in there. Pull off this little clip here. That's the one not to lose. Oh, that's tight. Nothing crazy looking in the cylinder, no gouging, no damage. Piston's looking good. Teflon worn off of there. This could definitely go back in. I'll check the clearance, of course. No play in the connecting rod, that's good. The Beta 300 motors have been notorious for seizing crank bearings. Gasket feels a little thin. Beta uses these stupid tamper-proof Allen bolts. So annoying. Like, why don't they want us to take the reed cage off? You can buy these easy enough on Amazon or at any tool supply place. You're throwing that straight in the bin. Reeds are looking good. No cracks, no lifted corners. Now all these parts are going to go in my top end bin. Now I'll get on to the right side. The left side is already pretty much disassembled. I did that on the bike. I'll clean up here so I can reset. I have built, I don't know how many of these engines, but if you follow your procedures and your protocols, then mistakes don't happen. I did drain the oil in the engine, but there's always some leakage that happens. So we'll get ahead of that. Be careful with plastic impellers. I have broken them in the past. No sense doing that. Watch for little washers like that. This Beta engine is somewhat unique with this little tube that goes in between the case and the water pump. Beta and KTM engines are extremely similar. In fact, the top ends will fit on the bottom ends. They are interchangeable. Clutch push rod's coming out. Gasket's just a little bit stuck. I'm going to try and save it. I don't think that I will be able to save it, but the bottom end gasket set for this thing is $280. The aftermarket ones are on back order. We'll see. No sense closing that door right now. Well, that had some Loctite on it. A little overkill there. It is left hand. For this, I like to grab the connecting rod so it doesn't go flopping around. Nah, we'll use the big boy for that. I'm just going to look at this first plate here, but I can tell that this clutch is in good shape. If this was starting to get brown, I would look deeper because the plates that have gotten the hottest are always in the middle, and I have no reason to suspect that there's any issue with that clutch. So keeping it together is just going to save space during storage. Shift shaft. Just be aware there is an O-ring in there too. I don't like to take this off with the impact because rattling around on the shift forks internally, which is essentially what you're doing, is not advised. Don't like to do that. There is a circlip on the output shaft. Pry that up a bit. That's right side done. Now all of the right side components will go in a bin. Bench is clear again. Washer, counterbalancer. Oh, look at that. That's the right side crank bearing. Nasty. Shift drum. Shift forks. I like to keep them together. These Betas also have these little rollers which go on the shift forks. Put everything back together, make life as easy for myself as possible. Oh, that crank should not come out of there like that. These crank bearings are cooked. 100% the right call to pull these apart. That crank bearing has gotten overheated and it is shot. A bunch of goo in there. It looks like the right side was probably leaking already too. Now, this center case gasket has actually come apart unscathed, but for the amount of work that it would be to replace this if it leaked, I am not going to reuse this. I would in a pinch, but this is not a pinch. Now, quick inspection here, just looking at these shift forks, looking for any burnishing or wear. You can see a tiny little bit of wear right there on one of those little pads. Nothing to worry about, this transmission's in good shape. Checking these pads for wear is the #1 way to find out if there is a transmission issue, because if the gear dogs start to wear, it puts pressure on these shift forks, and that is a dead nuts giveaway that you have an issue. All right, well that didn't take very long. There are the cases. Again, those bearings are cooked. Definitely a good call to do it now. The connecting rod is in great shape, so I don't even think that we'll replace that. Probably got another couple hundred hours out of it at least. Center cases, right side, top end, right there. I've got the left side somewhere down there with all the chassis stuff. Now, for me as a tech, this is the outcome that I want to see, because I would hate to have recommended to the customer that we take the engine out and tear it down to this point and then open it up and be like, it looks fine, there's nothing wrong. Coming back to what I said at the beginning of the last video, we want to be very sure. First of all, we verify, then we diagnose, and we follow the procedure. We don't get to the repair until we are sure exactly what repair we need to start with. When you follow the procedure, you get to this point, it's very gratifying. Customers are going to be happy, my reputation is intact, we'll move right along with this repair, and then we'll see if we still have the symptom after rebuilding the engine, and if we do, then we can get to doing some carburetor adjustments. But I got a feeling once we put this together, the engine's going to run nicely.